Good morning, everyone. So today I am on the road quite early. I am going to a flea market and 2 thrift stores. And right now I'm not going to be looking at the camera too much because I am driving. I did set up a dashboard mounted phone holder so that I can talk to you guys while I drive. Always trying to fit a task in little spaces, but for safety's sake I will not be looking at you guys. Hope that's all understandable. And right now I am making a turn. I don't know where I'm going. I know there is a yard sale somewhere right around here, I heard. So that is the first order of the day, a yard sale, then a flea market, then 2 thrift stores. So grab yourself a cup of tea, as I always say, and let's get on the road. Whenever I hear about a yard sale or garage sale that includes a red barn and a big parking lot, I am all over it. This is a yard sale I heard about that was about, I'm going to say, 5 to 7 minutes from my house. So I'm just showing you a little bit of the countryside to show you what kind of barn sales go on around here. When I get to a yard sale like this, I usually expect to find garden implements, farming tools, but also these type of sales can surprise you. So I'm going to walk through and give you guys a tour of what the average barn sale looks like. It's been my experience that a lot of times larger families, whether they be Amish or Mennonite or just country folk that have big barns, they either shop at auctions or they just collect things over the years. And usually these types of sales are really interesting and the prices are good. So right off the bat, I find this little sweet box. It's a handled box with a painted bird on it. And I'm not at this sale 5 seconds and I find that and say absolutely yes. These were VHS tapes put out by Longaberger, and I thought that was interesting, but I didn't want to take the time to run comps. Could have been a mistake, but it felt like the treasure was going to be plentiful, so I wanted to move quickly through the items so that I would get first chance at them. A lot of times these sales are sales that are not once or twice a year, but the people that own these large homes and barns will do this as side money or sometimes even as a main portion of their living. And I just love it because so many times I've found great items, vintage and otherwise, at really good prices. It's very rare that I've been to, a larger home sale like this that included a barn where the prices were ridiculous. Almost always these prices are better than Goodwill. Here I'm noticing a sign that says free. Anything behind that green hose is free. So all of these boxes, lots of free stuff. Now here's the catch for me. You really don't want to bring home, I don't want to bring home a massive amount of items that won't bring a high profit. So I try to be really choosy about what I take from the free piles, because most of these yard sales will put out a great amount of items and you could really fill your trunk with all free inventory. So there I was looking at a Budweiser dish, I'm going to call it, and I was giving that thought. I am trying to stay away from bigger breakables. In fact, I've had my own yard sale weekend this weekend, which Saturday it poured, but I still managed to make $80, and I'm going to be back out there tomorrow, which is Sunday. So here I'm just showing you a little bit of everything that was free, and I think I did wind up picking up a cassette recorder. I'll see if I caught that on film. This pillow was beautiful, but unfortunately it had some damage to it. That garden angel was beautiful. But here we're looking at the items that are priced. Now, a lot of the items you had to ask the lady of the home how much she wanted for things, but most of what we're looking at here fell within my price range. So I'm going to say most of it was between $2 and $5. I think my eyes spotted the wood duck. And I thought it was a decoy at first, but then I realized it was attached to that lamp. Now, if it was just that decoy, just that duck, I definitely would have taken that. but I didn't want to deal with that. It was attached to a lamp. Not that it wouldn't have sold, it might have, but I don't want to ship that. So the way this garage sale or yard sale was set up, many tables, a lot of the items outside, they did have moisture or dew on them because she was set up from early morning. And this woman runs her garage sale on Tuesdays and Saturday. And the reason she puts it on Tuesday is because Roots, which I've videoed there, flea market is right down the street. So she's on quite a busy road and she catches all of that traffic. So I could imagine she is making really good money. I'm hoping I caught on camera how large this garage sale was. Really big. Now we were stepping inside the garage that was attached to the house. And as you can see, the tables were laden with treasure. It's hard to film through the camera and not want to put the camera down and just shop. Here right away my eyes spotted this platter or plate. This is Eldreth Pottery. And this is locally made or was locally made by this potter. Now, Eldreth Pottery can bring very good money or it can bring very low dollar amounts. I didn't feel the aesthetic of that was good, so I just moved on. And I'm still holding on to my bird box. A lot of spongeware, all kinds of things. I did wind up talking to the woman who owned the house, and she told me that she had sourced a lot of her inventory from Hess Auctions, which is the auction house in the Roots Flea Market collaboration, I'll call it. I don't know. I think they just rent the building from the Roots Market. I don't know that they really have affiliation, family-wise. When the owner started talking about sourcing at Roots, the Hess auction, I do wind up going there after this, so I was going to show you a little sneak peek of that. But here I find a sweet owl bank with his key, which is lovely, and he is Gooble. Gooble. I still have a hard time saying that name. And now we get to a table with a lot of different items, and I thought this cat was great. Pretty sure he's vintage Japan. But I don't see a marking on the bottom, but I go ahead and take him anyway. Now that second little kitty planter was not in great shape, so I left him behind. Here my eye is definitely spotting something. And I did show this on my Instagram, so if you want to hear about what this is, what these items are, you can go over to Instagram and see what I found. And I paid $1 for this. And right now I have these on auction in my store for $100. Not saying it'll bring that. I mean, fingers crossed it will. But I was thrilled to find that, and I didn't even know what it was. When I look at an item and don't know what something is, I try to go by my gut if it's not a high buy-in price. And student pottery always catches my attention, and this was wonderful. This had the potter's or the artist's name inside on her business card, and I believe there were 3 or 4 pieces on the table. So I didn't wind up picking up any of those pieces because I could not find the artist's name online. Could have been I typed it in wrong, because again, I'm dealing with a mask and filming, carrying things when I'm picking up my handbag. So I could have typed it in wrong, but I left the pottery behind. Now here is a find that's catching my attention. Look at this lamp. Just beautiful. And even though it seems like I left that behind, I did wind up picking that lamp up. She wanted $12 and I offered her $10 and she accepted it. Lots of linens. Now, while I do like picking up vintage linens, I find it's very hard to check big bedspreads and larger items when I'm outside like this for damage. This kitty picture was the bomb. I loved this thing. She wanted $20, I think, for it, if that's what the price says. And if I was into shipping bigger things right now, which I'm taking a break from shipping larger items, definitely would have picked that up. But right now, I am really trying to stay within smaller items because I'm growing my YouTube channel. So you have to pick your battles, right, guys? It's, I can't do everything all the time, although I wish I could. I thought this picture was beautiful. So I always look at the bottom. And this was mass-produced. Not really mass-produced. It's a Potter house, but it wasn't like an individual student piece. When somebody is set up like this, this is, I'm going to call it a professional seller. Now, some of this might be that she bought a lot at an auction house from an antique store that either closed down or liquidated. So sometimes you can tell and sometimes you can't tell whether this is second and third hand or if it's from the person you're buying from. But this time I believe that she is a professional seller, I'm going to call it, just like I'm a professional seller, but that she did get that from a secondary antique house, if all of that makes sense. I really liked this piece of pottery, and I didn't care if it was a Potter house or a student piece. So here you see me making a pile. And I'm really excited to see what else is on the table. Even though I loved this garage sale and the prices were very good in my opinion, sometimes I get a little bit disheartened when the seller starts to make vignettes out of things. I'd rather go to a yard sale where it's a hodgepodge and you're digging and things are kind of dirty. But here I notice these glass horses bookends, and I do wind up picking those up without running a comp. Now I believe I paid $2 for them, so still absolutely fine, but these are quite plentiful on eBay and I believe on Etsy. I don't remember the maker right now, but if you Google or comp clear horse bookends, you'll see that there are quite a few online, including mine, because I did buy them. I think if I would have run a comp on those horses, I probably would not have purchased them. There is another shot of the kitty picture, but we have a little theme going on. This is just a little, I'm going to call it a stuffed plush. It really wasn't a children's toy. So these little kittens are made in China. So not a really high dollar item, but I thought the first kitten was really sweet. It's funny, when I rewatch the footage that I've taken, sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't really see that because you're looking through the camera. But here right away, I did notice this box because it was very odd that it was next to Barbie's. And I'm not quite sure of this metal. I don't think that's pewter. It almost looks like a leaded metal. I don't know how to say that. And I think I've sold that same exact box before, so I went ahead and picked that up. I will try to do a haul video to show you guys a closer look, as usual, of what items I did choose. I thought that record clock was very cool. And the green glass, just beautiful. So as you can see, I go through once very quickly, and then I go back up and down aisles, if you will, quite often. And that's the same way I shop in stores. So when I come into a store or yard sale, I am the crazy girl up and down the aisles real quick because I always feel like I don't want to miss something or lose out. And here I'm looking at the free items. So all of this in the box is free. Now this box of rocks was not free, or I might have taken this. I don't know a lot about rocks, but rocks are very attractive to me. I think they're very interesting, whether it's quartz or mica or here is, just a different mix of all different kind of rocks. I love a good rock. I've told this story before of when I was little. I already had that entrepreneurial spirit when I was young, and I was always looking for a way to make money. My family was fairly low income, and there were 5 of us children. And I remember the specific day that my dad was at work and my mom was, putzing around the house, and I decided to color rocks with my friends and sell them door to door. So I'm sure many of you have heard this story. So we became very industrious about it. We gathered all of I think we only had crayons, and we collected rocks and washed them, and then we colored them in with crayons and went door to door selling them. And there were quite a few neighbors that were just wonderful about it. And I remember there was this one neighbor. Now here I am all these years later remembering this. Mrs. Walters was her name. And we knocked on her back door because that's the door that the family used. It was really like the side door. And she came to the door and I said, "Hi, Mrs. Walters. I have beautiful rocks for your garden if you'd like to purchase them." And she was so gracious. She was like, "Oh, I've never seen such beautiful rocks." She said, "Oh, I'll take this one and this one." And she picked out a couple, and she paid us 75 cents. Well, I was just thrilled. I thought I had found my newfound profession. I couldn't have been more than, 5 years old maybe. And later that day, when I was telling my dad about it, when he had came home from work, I could see the look on his face. He was horrified. I was always getting into something, but very innocent about it. And he said, "Karen, you can't go and get something that's free or that other people can get and then make profit on it." And I still laugh about that to this day. My dad has passed away, but if he could see me now, I think he would just be amazed that there I was, at such a young age, doing the same thing that here I'm doing for a profession all these years later. So that is one of my favorite memories, and my siblings still tease me about it. So here we're looking at more free items. And eventually I came upon, that was my handbag just sitting there, came upon this area where I saw this lamp. Not that I'm thrilled with shipping out lamps, but I thought this was very cool. This was a lamp made from, I believe this is an Asian tea tin. I'm not positive about that, pretty sure what that was made of, but I really didn't want to have to ship that. And here I realized there is an electronic in the box. And again, I could have this General Electric cassette recorder for free. So this is what I wound up taking, which the woman did explain to me that she did test it and she was pretty sure the volume had an issue. But I figured I would go ahead and take it in case somebody wanted to tinker with it. I will probably be listing that in my store pretty soon. So that ends the yard sale with me portion. And next I drove down the street to the auction house that is associated with Roots Market. So I went to the yard sale, and then I went to the flea market, and then I went to the auction house to preview what was coming on auction on Monday. So what you do is the previous week, I believe on a Tuesday, you come to the auction house and view everything that they're auctioning off the following Monday, and then you go ahead and place a bid online. So here I'm just going to show you a little bit. It's not all the rooms. I just went into the main room and filmed as much as I could just to show you how much stuff we have here in Pennsylvania in the auction houses. It's crazy the amount of items. But here I'm just going to show you as I walk through just the different items that I saw. So this is Hess Auction House, and this is in Roots Flea Market property, or on their property. So here I might even speed the footage up because there's quite a bit of this footage, but I thought it's really interesting if you guys are in the area. Hess Auction House is huge, very, very big. They have a whole separate room for watches and clocks, tons of furniture. A lot of times, if there aren't as many people buying on any given Monday online, you can get items really reasonable. So I'm just going to show a little bit of footage here, and then at the end show you the two most interesting items to me that I'm not even sure if I'm going to bid this week. I have to see what the rest of the week brings, and I am going to another auction house on Tuesday, and I most likely will be buying from that auction house. So that'll be my first time at, I believe that one's called Farmersville, and that's up in Ephrata. So this Hess auction is now completely online, that's my understanding, but Farmersville will be a live auction, and I'm hoping to sneak a little bit of filming at that one to show you guys what that's like. You know, that's one of the great things about reselling, in my opinion. This never gets old. There's so many different ways to source and to sell, whether you buy and sell, you know, on a different platform or out of your house or through a, you know, a local market, flea market, you know, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. This never gets old. When you find yourself getting a little stagnant, a little bored, a little burnt out, there is always something new and exciting to try. So as you can see, not a shortage of inventory. Most of these tables are either auctioned by the full table or sections of the table. I'm going to see if my camera caught it. The different lots are usually separated by a board, or they have lot number tags on it. If the auction house feels they have something valuable, they will auction things off by themselves. There's a shot of the board, if I caught that. Most times that I have placed bids, I believe only once or twice it was a separate item. Most times I've bid on lots of items. They also have box lots. The furniture is usually by the piece, usually. I think that green pot might have been a chocolate pot. Now, I don't know that auction houses really allow filming, quote unquote, but I didn't see any signs. And as always, I keep my camera very pointed down to try to keep it respectful and, you know, just respect everybody's privacy. Here I'm going to insert 2 or 3 photos of the items that I might be interested in. I don't know much about this green glass, but I thought this was gorgeous. So here is a close-up shot. This is one lot. I believe it was number 88, if I'm looking at that correct. This is going to be auctioned as one lot. Now on this shelf, they had some lamps. See that middle lamp there with the fringe? I loved that, absolutely loved that. But then I had to talk with myself, like, really, Karen, do you want to ship that? You're trying to get rid of the big breakables. But you know, when your heart loves something, so we shall see what happens on Monday if I put a bid in for that. And once again, frogs. I'm in the frog mode of my life. So I thought these guys were great, especially that big one. I really didn't need the little ones, but I think they would sell. So this is lot number 27, and we will see about that. And as if this video isn't long enough, I'm going to take you on a little trip up and down the Goodwill aisles. So this day I did fit in shipping out my items, then a yard sale, then a flea market, then an auction house, then 2 thrift stores. So here I'm finding wood framed mirrors. Now I did put these in my cart because I'm trying to redecorate my kitchen walls because I painted, so all the other stuff came down, and I'm looking for items to put in my own home. This was super interesting. I believe this was an antique post office box that somebody built a bank around. Oh my gosh, this thing was so cool. Right in my cart it went. But then as I looked at it closer, there was no key, and of course I didn't know the combination, so unfortunately there was no way to open that bank. So as you guys can see, I am in the running up and down the aisles mode, taking a look at everything very quickly and putting it in my cart. And this is Goodwill Route 30, which I get to once or twice a week. The shelves are always filled. The store does a great job. Now, while the shelves are always filled, it doesn't mean you're always going to find great items. They just get a lot. So I've always said my best tip if you're starting out, sourcing from thrift stores, go to the biggest thrift stores you can find, square footage wise. Try to find the biggest ones and shop there because they're going to get the biggest amount of inventory. They need the inventory to fill their shelves. So if any given thrift store builds a big store or takes over a large location, that means they're committing and they know they have to bring the inventory in. And this Goodwill does not disappoint. I thought these 2 candlestick holders were interesting, but I guess not interesting enough. I passed those by very quickly. Now that wood bowl was just a turned bowl on a lathe, and I'm going to call it a contemporary piece, really probably vintage, but it wasn't anything, to take note of. I feel like I could shop every day for the rest of my life in thrift stores and not see things twice. Just amazing. Now this clock has a story. So I see this clock. This is Empress Josephine clock, which brings good money. I took a look at it, but because I'm in that mode where I don't want to ship out big things, I turn my back on it and leave it on the shelf. Said absolutely not. I don't care what that brings. I'm not doing that. And 3 aisles down, a friend who's a reseller, Jason. Hey, Jason, if you're watching, he picked it up and came over to me. He goes, hey, what, did you miss the clock? Because he knows, that when I'm in the store, I'm just all over it. So I asked if I could film him, but he said no. So he did get the Josephine clock, and most likely that'll bring over $100. But guys, I'm a little bit turning the corner in trying to make the transition in stopping, myself from picking up the big items. As I tell you guys about that, and I'm looking at a painting, but this was not for resale. I just found this very interesting. This was a light up painting or picture, mass produced, but very cool. Here again, pulling out a painting after I just said I'm trying to stay away from big items. It's a hard habit to break. This was gorgeous. This was a baby owl painting. I did put this in my cart for a while, but I was good. I disciplined myself. I put it back. Now I could have taken this out of the frame, But I felt like it was kind of unfair with this piece. Look at that, $3.99. I felt like this deserved to stay together, and that is the reason I did not pick that up and deframe it. A lot of times I will definitely take prints or paintings out of the frame, especially if the frame is very badly damaged or if it's too heavy, and I figured most buyers want to frame their own artwork anyway. But I did put it in my cart for a little while. Here's a punched tin framed piece of artwork. I think this might have been a student piece. I really didn't find it attractive, but I always look at punched tin. Here we have a garden fairy or forest fairy. I loved her. But just because I like something doesn't mean that I'm going to pick it up. I can definitely appreciate very fun or beautiful or whimsical pieces and leave her on the shelf for the next person. I'm sure she got bought up. Anytime an item has a barcode, that is your first hint that it is a modern piece, most likely made in China. Not always, but I don't remember the year that the barcoding system came into effect. I should know this. I'm going to say somewhere in the 70s. That definitely could be wrong. I could be wrong about that, but when I see that, I have a tendency to put the item back, unless it's something that is bringing high money, like, I don't know, a cell phone box with a cell phone in it. Now, how cute is this little box? Again, an oversized item. Snowman supplies, hats, and mittens. How cute would this be? So if you love this, $7. Again, it's at the Goodwill in Lancaster on Lincoln Highway. Kids come in from the cold and they can put their mittens and their hats in that little box. The workers in this store, they work tirelessly. I'm sure they are tired, but they do a great job. Here was just a wooden plank with herbs, as you can see, written on it. And I put that in my cart because I was thinking about that for a little minute for my kitchen, but I felt the colors were too drab, and I wound up putting that back. So sometimes when I'm shopping, you'll see me pick up things for my own home. Very rare, though, because I'm pretty much satisfied. I've been in this house for 5 years now, so most of my house is decorated, but sometimes when I paint, like in this case, the kitchen went from an aqua color to a gray color, and I Instagrammed about that. I will be looking for a few items for kind of a farmhouse feel. I do like that look. So in this portion of the video, if you see something that I missed on the shelf and you think it would go really well in a farmhouse style kitchen, could you leave a comment down below? Thanks, guys. I think if I could study one main niche, it might be pottery. There is so much pottery out there: art pottery, student pottery, famous pottery, just on. And I know very little about pottery, the different types of clay. I mean, I know there are a few, like redware or terracotta, but generally I don't know a lot about pottery, and I very much enjoy finding it and selling it, as long as the pieces aren't too big. So the three main color aisles that I don't find too many things on, just a side note, I've picked up that same tin before. I think it's in my store. The three color aisles that I find the least amount of things in are the red aisle, the clear aisle, and the black aisle, with the clear being the least amount I buy, then red, then black. And the most items that I find are on, I'm going to call it the brown aisle, the wood aisle. Those are just my preferences and what I'm attracted to. So naturally, because I love wood bowls and baskets, the wood aisle is usually the first aisle that I go down for myself. I also like the green aisle. I'm not quite sure why that is, but the blue aisle is good too. I don't know if I picked up anything in this aisle this day. That was a pretty bowl. And I'm sure I've shared this before. When the aisles and the shelves are this crowded and I'm not filming, I stand back on each aisle and I read each section of aisle from left to right. I've shared that before, and that helps your eyes stay organized when there's too much to look at. But when I'm filming, I'm just concentrating on trying to keep the camera centered on what I'm looking at, because a lot of times I'm looking off to the side and the camera is not even on the item. So I've done that a few times. This I should have taken time to look up because Ninja Turtles is such a loved little, I don't know what to call it, genre. Now I think the Ninja Turtle items that bring the best money are the original when Ninja Turtles first launched. Here is a handbag. This is the sack. Now, while I do pick up the sack handbags, I do still have to comp them. A lot of the ones that are that coated canvas that say peace or love on them, those I pretty much automatically pick them up if they're in great condition. But the crocheted, woven kind, I have a tendency not to pick up, but I figured I would check again since I hadn't checked a comp in a while. But I wound up putting that handbag back because it didn't bring high enough profit. I think this was meant to be like a mussel shell, like an oyster shell, something like that made out of glass. Kind of pretty. Here again, finding pottery. You know, I don't even know that you have to have that style to think that's really pretty. And what does that say? Desert something. We are going down the green aisle. Okay, these were the ugliest pictures I've ever seen in my life. Sorry to whoever made those. Boy, were those bad. While there's a lot of beautiful things, there is definitely a fair share of not so pretty things. But still fun to shop, still fun to look at all of these items. And the last hard good that I'll leave you with before I go on to clothing was this Christmas tray. When I turned the aisle, right away this caught my attention. I've never seen something like this. Maybe it's common. Very heavy metal. This thing must have weighed 40 pounds. And I thought, boy, this would be pretty with jewelry hanging off of it or something like that. But I decided not to get it, and I thought I would share it anyway. And the last little bit of footage I wanted to show you is when I was looking at men's shirts. See how all these shirts kind of look the same, and then all of a sudden, boom. This is Robert Graham. Robert Graham makes the most beautiful, flamboyant, loud, gorgeous dress shirts. They also make most men's clothing, most, socks, shoes, pants. They make it all. But I really wanted to show this shirt to you, to show you the print, how gorgeous this is. I believe this is 100% silk. I did buy it. I didn't even look yet at what this is made out of. This is waiting to be listed, which is tomorrow's work. But I really love Robert Graham, and I wanted to show you how you don't have to know Robert Graham to be able to spot it. Robert Graham shirts almost always stand out. And here I'm showing you a copy of the label. Their inside label is their embroidered name, or his embroidered name. So that was my thrifting today, or part of it, my yard selling, my auction house preview. I'm so happy to be back and sharing all of this with you guys. And as always, go out and get what's yours.